Okay, everybody, welcome back. So, in today's video, or I guess the next video since you're watching these all at once, we're now looking at this section where you can see we've got lead coefficients right here, this number like that. When we came back, we talked about that being a GCF, and I would have, like in number 11, there's a 6 out there. Well, what happens as we kind of get through this section is eventually, right, let's start with 31. So what happens is that eventually, and actually I'm going to do 29, that seems like a little better one to start with, is eventually, even though there's a GCF, I can't get rid of everything. So in 29, the GCF, let's start there because we always want to start with the GCF. The biggest thing I can divide out of all of that is just a 2. So what I'm left with, 10 divided by 2 is 5. 2 divided by 2 is just 1, minus 4. So I'm left with that, and now I have nothing else to do. So I'm going to remember that because I took a GCF of 2 out, my final answer down here is just going to be 2, and then some stuff. But unfortunately, there's nothing more I can do. So my factors of AC change a little bit. When I do my AC, A times C now is 5 times negative 4, which is negative 20. And that's really the only thing that will change in what we're doing here. We just need to remember that, okay, it's going to be a little different number because every other number we've done, this has been a 1. Well, no different. So let's factor out negative 20, and remember, I'm going to try to get to negative 1. So 1 and 20 does not get me to 1. 2 and 10. Nope, that's not going to get me there. 3 doesn't go into 20. 4 and 5 does, and that's going to be a winner because all I can do is 4 minus 5 is negative 1. So that means there's my factors of AC that add up to B. Remember, that's always our first step, and honestly, that's going to be the most complicated step. So 4 and 5, and what I've done there in that step is change this into 4x minus 5x. But the whole point of that is so I can get that into my little chart here. And now I've got 4 terms that go in my box. Like so. Okay, now I'm going to go around and do GCFs, and nothing now changes. So the GCF here is simply an x, and the GCF here is negative 1. There's nothing I can get out of there. But remember, I want to take out this sign if I can. The other way, here the GCF is 5x, and here it's plus 4. So right there's my factors, x minus 1 and 5x plus 4. Whoops. Like so. So we can see that nothing really changes here other than the fact that my factors are going to be a little harder to get. What does change, unfortunately, is the size of the numbers you're going to have to deal with can get a little extreme. So let's take a look at 30. Now 30 again is going to be a special case. I only see 2 terms. In those terms, I can just do a GCF right away. So let's not forget this. So the GCF here, I can definitely divide out on n. And it looks to me that the biggest number I'm going to get is a negative 3. So that's going to come out here. 15 divided by 3 is 5n minus 6. So again, you get these ones with just 2 terms. We can just try to do GCFs immediately. We don't have to try that. Okay. So let's look at, wow, let's look at, because it doesn't really matter. Let's go 32 because I'll have a little more space. So 32. Wow, I should do 34 because that's another just GCF one, huh? But in 32, there is no GCF here. There's nothing I can divide out. So when I do, now my next step is factors of AC. 7 times 30 is negative 210. Wow. This is going to be a little more complicated because this bigger number now gives me something that I've really got to think about. So here, I'm going to have to use my calculator to kind of guide me. So I'm going to bring out my calculator here, and all I'm doing, I'm just doing the factors, but because this is a big number, there we go. I just want to show what I'm actually doing here. So 210 divided by 1. 1 into 210. It's not going to get me there. Remember, I got to get to 29. So 210 divided by 2. Good, those are factors, but it's not going to get me there. 210 divided by 3. Whoops. Okay, 3 and 70. Those are factors, but I'm still not there. Remember, I'm trying to get to 29. Okay, those are not factors. 42 and 5. Now I'm starting to get a little closer because 42 minus 5 can get me to 37. Remember, I got to get to 29. So I'm getting closer, but I'm still not there. So 210 divided by 6. Okay, now I think I got it because 35 minus 6 gets me to 29. I just need to remember that I have to get to negative 29. So I have to do 6 minus 35. Right there they are. So my factors of AC that add up to B are 6 and negative 35. So that's how we're going to go about doing those, especially when they get kind of more difficult like that. Remember, the reason I'm doing this is simply so I can take this number and split it into two things, like so. The reason I need two terms there is because when I go to do my chart, I have 4 boxes that I have to fill. The first term, the 2 I just found, and then the last one. Okay. Now, GCFs, again, nothing changes here. V. Negative 5 by the looks. This way. 7V and 6. So my factors are V minus 5 and 7V plus 6. Okay. So that's what we're after here. And honestly, none of this changes at all. The numbers become very, very large, and you're going to have to kind of deal with it. But other than that, the steps don't change one bit whatsoever. So on 36, let's do another one. Again, I'm checking for GCFs the whole time. This one does not have it. So I'm left with, okay, let's do AC. And A times C is 14. And this one's more manageable now. 14, factors of 14 that get me to negative 9. Well, 1 and 14 won't do it. But 2 and 7 will. Now, 2 plus 7 is positive 9. So in this case, I'm going to have to do negative 2 minus 7. So I can get to negative 9. Right there are my factors. Again, the whole point of that is so this can become this. And the whole reason for that is so you can do your chart. That's a 2M. like so. Okay, and I think at this point, we should be comfortable. Whoops, that's not 2m though. My bad. I don't like that. Let's do just that. That's just an m. Now, here I don't think we've had it yet. So let's take a moment. Right here, there is no GCF. So we're just going to put a 1. The only thing you can divide out of those is a 1. All right, so 2m minus 7, m plus 1. Okay. So that's what we're after in factoring quadratics. The GCFs will be complicated, yes, absolutely. But I don't think it's anything you can't do. Now, don't forget when you get to things like 37. Yes, this looks like it's more complicated because it's missing terms, but it's really not. It's simply just recognizing, okay, the only GCF is an R here. And that's my answer. Okay. And as we go through the rest of this, you can see nothing's changing here. We're trying to make this a little easier on you, but the factoring can be, unfortunately a little rough. So let's do one more. 49 looks like a good candidate. And the reason I say that is because in 49, there is a GCF. But the GCF here, 1, it's a 2. But because this first term is negative, I'm also going to want to factor out a negative 2. The same way I do that in the boxes when that first term's a negative in the box, I want to do it here. So I'm going to factor out a negative 2. And at least that makes this somewhat more manageable. And again, I'm just going to remember that that negative 2 is going to come out here and be out front when I do my final answer here. All right, now AC is going to be a little big. A times C is 28. And I got to figure out how can I get to 11. Sometimes this can come real naturally. Sometimes it can take a while. 2 and 28 will not get me to 11. 1 and 28. 2 and 14 gets me close, but it's not going to work. So 4 and 7, that does. Because 4 plus 7 is 11. So to make that negative 11, I'm going to do that. Negative 4 plus negative 7. And there we go. So my factors of AC, negative 4 minus 7. And there, I've taken my middle term and split it up into 2 so that I can do the box here. Okay. Now GCF's around, and again, the only thing that changes problem to problem here is getting these two terms here. The rest of this should flow pretty naturally. 2n, negative 7, and negative 2. There we go. And there's my factors. Okay. So your goal today is to simply finish this. Only thing we're doing on this is factoring. So we're factoring quadratics and breaking it down just like we did. We're going to need to practice this. This won't come real easy right away. So this will be some practice. So your job tonight is to finish this packet, take a back look at the examples, and then when you're ready, come on up and then we'll kind of look at what we were at. All right, good luck.